what's up everybody? I'm out here in the shop trying to find a way to avoid working in the heat. So I think I've come up with something. I'm going to show you folks a couple things that might help you out. I get quite a few questions on some of these videos that I do, mainly the products I use and when and where to use them. And there's some good information out there that I'd like to share with you. One is the PPG Restoration Guide. Super good information in that guide. Kind of a roadmap of the painting process if you were to restore a vehicle. It answers some questions as to when to strip it to bare metal or when it's okay to paint on top of what's there. It's got some really good information in it, so I'll show you real quick how to find that online. It's real simple. And the second thing I'd like to go over are PSheets or product sheets. So pretty much anything you use in the painting process, from filler to primer, clear coat, color, single stage, you name it, there should be a P-sheet on it or a product sheet to tell you what that product's intended use is and how to go about using it. So I'll go over that with you as quick as I can. I'll try not to make this too long, but I think it's some good handy information to have, and it might help you out with your project. You might be able to look at the guide, the restoration guide, and see where your project fits into that. So I know some of you folks been doing this for years. You got it down, you know what's going on, but there's a lot of people that aren't quite familiar with all this. So hopefully this will help point you in the right direction, maybe help you know what questions to ask when you go to buy some products at a local distributor. And yeah, hopefully you'll get a little bit out of this video. All right, so let's take a look at this restoration guide and start there. All right, let's put in PPG Restoration Guide. All right, Custom Restoration Guide, PPG Refinish. We'll click on that, and there it is. You can either view it online or you can download the PDF. I'm going to download the PDF because I think it'll give me a page by page. If I do it online, if I view it online, it's going to show me 2 pages at a time, which may be a little confusing. All right, so here it is. I downloaded it. I'm gonna try to show you 3 basic things. First, the guide itself, how to get to it, which I already did, and 2 other things. The rest of it, I mean, this is a very in-depth guide. It's got a lot of information. You just have to kind of read through it, and when you get time, see where your project falls into this thing. As far as what stage you're at, and see if it won't help answer some questions. So as we go through this guide, it'll give us a table of contents where we can look up, as it references the pages that in this guide that these processes are on. We're going to skip through this thing. Table of contents, how to use the guide. It's got some information on what these symbols you might see through the guide mean. Good information. There's a page here for the restoration process where you can keep up with how many hours you spend on each part of your paint job. So that's pretty handy. We'll go on down. Of course, we've got safety. You need to pay attention to all that. Talks about what you're exposed to and how to protect yourself from it. Let's keep going. Paint basics. Gives you the basics of what paint is. Like I say, this is a lot of information. Won't go over everything because there's just too much there. But I want you to think about the guide itself, know where it's at, how to find it. And here's something you should pay attention to. Okay, this right here. Thermoplastic versus thermoset films. Thermoplastic and thermoset products do not always work well together. If the selected products are not compatible, wrinkling or lifting may occur. This right here is what ruins more paint jobs, when people are not familiar with products and how they interact together. If you look at this, there's a resin rule test. It shows you how to check to see if it's a thermoplastic or thermoset. If it's thermoplastic, solvent will dissolve that product. It will move it. It soaks up the products and causes lifting. A thermoset film is going to maintain its integrity whether it's exposed to solvents or not. So if you look down at the conclusion, if the film substrate is thermoplastic, strip to bare substrate before proceeding with any repairs. If you've got a vehicle 1990 or older, it's probably got lacquer on it. Lacquer is a thermoplastic product. These C10s that I work on, they have lacquer on them from the factory. Here's an example of all that. This is off of my C10 that I just jammed the doors out on. Take a look at this. So these doors have non-catalyzed paint on them, lacquer. One way to check that is take a rag, put some thinner on it, lacquer thinner, and see if it comes off. So it's coming right off with lacquer thinner. So that means it's a non-catalyzed product. So you have to be careful when you paint over that. If you use the wrong product, it'll cause lifting. See if I can demonstrate lifting right here. Put some lacquer thinner on that. It's almost like putting paint stripper on. You can see. See how it's bubbling up the paint? If that happens when you're painting, it creates a big problem. Look at all that. Standard conditions. That's the other thing I wanted to talk to you about. When we look at our PSheets and it tells us it dries in 30 minutes or the flash time is 15 minutes, or it's got all these times set, it's taken into account standard conditions. That being 70 degrees, 50% relative humidity. So if you're working where it's cooler or hotter than that, it's going to affect all your dry times and it's going to affect the product. So what's the 15-degree rule? It's for every 15 degrees increase in temperature above standard conditions, above 70 degrees, a product's dry time and pot life may be reduced by half. So if you got a product that says it dries in 30 minutes at 70 degrees, well, at 85 degrees, it's gonna dry in 15 minutes. And the same holds true for when you go below that. For every 15 degrees decrease in temperature below standard conditions, a product's dry time and pot life may be doubled. This stuff is very important. When you start clear coating cars and it says 15-minute flash time at 70 degrees and it's hotter than that, you might need to get back on it a little quicker than 15 minutes. Or if it's cooler than that, you may have to give it extra time to kick over and tack up before you put the second coat on, or else it might run to the floor on you. All right, so that's two of the things in the guide that I wanted to show you. There's tons of other stuff in here. I mean, lots and lots of information, depending on which way you're going. If you're going to strip to bare metal, what you're painting on top of, gives you procedures for all that. It's just got a lot of information. So I'm not going to go into that anymore. I'm going to go to the PSheets real quick. I'm going to just give you a general overview of what PSheets are, how they look, and some of the information you can find on the products you use in those PSheets. Okay, here's a product that I use all the time, VP 2050. Let's pull up the PSheet on that, and it'll give you a basic overview of how they're structured. Most of the sheets are very similar in the way they're arranged. So let's pull that up. VP 2050 primer PSheet. Let's go with this top one. It should be there. And here it is. DTM Direct Metal High Build Primer, VP 2050. Gives you that basic overview of what the product is intended to be used for. And then it gets into some of the details. Tells you compatible surfaces, what you can put it on top of, compatible top coats, what goes on top of it. So with all products, you want to see where they fit in the scheme of things, what it can go on top of and what can go on top of it, so that you create a stack of films, different products that all work together. And another thing is try to stay within a product line. You can jump around and use some different product lines together, but you got to be very careful on what you do. The best thing to do is take a look at a PSheet where you're starting at with, say, your primer, and build on top of that with the recommended products. It's really ideal to stay within those same product lines so everything will definitely work together. There's no iffy or gray area where it might fail. So anyway, so we've got compatible surfaces, compatible top coats, preparation. So it tells you how to prepare the surface before you put this product on it. Then it goes into some directions for use. It tells you the mixing ratio. How's this thing mix? What does it mix with? The application. How many coats of this product do I need to put on? It'll tell you that information right here. Your spray gun setup. It'll tell you what spray gun to use, what setup to use in order to get the film build that it's asking, or that it says it will get per coat. There's also all your drying times between coats, tack free. If it air dries, how long is it going to take? If we bake it, force dry it, how long does it take? All that information is in the P-sheet for all these products. And make sure that you read all the information that's there. There's a lot of little things that you may need to pay attention to, and it should be in the P-sheet. So make sure you read all the asterisks, fine print, anything that's there, you want to read it. Now, let's go to a different product. We'll go to DPLF, and that's going to give us a lot of information. It's a P-sheet that has a lot of information there. So let's take a look at that one and see how it compares to this simple P-sheet that we just looked at. Let's see, DPLF, epoxy. Saying text sheet, let's pull that up and see what we get. Let's go with this top one, see if it pulls up our P-sheet. There it is. So DPLF, epoxy primer, same basic structure of the P-sheet itself. So the first part just gives you an overview of the product and what it's intended to be used for. As we go down, it's going to tell us the features of the product, the advantages, benefits, and there we go again, compatible surfaces. It tells you all these surfaces you can put it over. Now that's a long list of things you can put this over. So it's a lot more detailed. So you got to pay attention to all these little footnotes. Anyway, that's all for this episode. Know your P-sheets for the products that you're going to be using, and that way you stay out of trouble and you get the final result that you want in the end. You get that awesome paint job that you worked so hard to accomplish. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all next time.